Hi, my name is Sherman with Highland Lapidary, and I'm going to show you in this video how to set up and assemble your new wet belt sander. So we'll take you step by step. We've taken this unit out of the box already. Obviously that camera, you're seeing the back of the unit. If I flip over here, you can see the front of the unit here. And in that unit I've got obviously the unit as itself. Inside you'll also find the main drum and the shaft, stainless steel shaft. There's this little bar right here, and this is part of what is used for the tightening here. And then also, I'm kind of split the video, I can talk here. So you've got this bar, and so the first step to go is to take this drum and you put it through this hole right here. Adjust that camera so you guys can see that a little bit easier. So I'm going to put this right through here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to line that up. I'm visually lining this up so the gap on this side and this side are the same. If I kind of move this camera around, you'll see that I'm basically working to center this drum. So I've got about the same distance on both sides. Once I've done that, I'll take this pin right in here and I'll screw this in. So I won't tighten it up yet. We'll do some adjustments. Part of what I'm going to do is I put this handle in, is I'm going to turn this back and forth. So then I make sure that handle's hitting on the flat spot. So you see that I'm kind of rotating this back and forth, and then boom, I'm good. So we're back on up here, and then what we're going to do next is we're going to move to the back of the machine, and we're going to put a belt guard on here. You'll see I've removed these 3 screws right here. So there I'm going to be going ahead and putting my belt guard on the back. So let's flip around here, and I'm going to move just to this camera right there. And here you can see that's where my guard's going to go. The reason I don't tighten this up is I may need to adjust this a little bit when I put this guard in. The guard is in the top of the foam. So this piece, you'll pull this out, and this is in the top. And I'm going to drop that in right here. And you can see that what we're doing is taking these little screws here. Everything comes pretty well pre-adjusted on the unit. There's a few last tweaks that we'll do once we fire it up, but this will get you a really solid start to using the unit. One of the things I like the best about this machine is when my brother and I, choose the fasteners, like everything is, a lot of stainless steel in here. It's cast aluminum, so it's extremely durable. It's not going to rust. And the performance on the wet belt sander is great. It's an ideal machine for somebody who's saying, hey, I'd love to have something like a bull wheel grinder, but I need to run this inside my house. And so when you're running a machine inside your house, you want to be avoiding any kind of dust and things like that. So that's really the beauty for this particular machine, is you can run it inside your home, inside your shop. It's not going to be blowing dust and all like that over. So my next step is I'm going to be installing this needle valve up top here. You'll find this inside your machine as well. You'll see this is your needle valve. Not needle valve, your main valve that controls the flow here. You also know this is 6 millimeter, and I sell the tubing. We have the whole tubing kits and everything like that. It's pretty readily available tubing. It's like ice maker line, but you want to make sure that you're choosing 6 millimeter because that's kind of a key piece. And I'll grab a wrench and we'll tighten this up. You don't have to go crazy with this. This wrench I grabbed is a little bit big for this application, but for the purposes of getting this on, all I want to do is I want to get this on enough so that my handle is ergonomic. Right here in front of me, easy to open and close it. So there's my handle. And now my basic assembly is done. Now one of the things I'm going to pay attention to here is I want to pay attention to, when I look at this, that the spacing of this wheel is about even both sides. And I've got pretty perfect spacing here. Now you will know right here that this drum is touching. Don't worry about that yet, because once we put our belt on here, that's going to tension that. So I think I'm pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and tighten up my handle. Again, don't go crazy tightening it up. You just need to snug it up. And then my next step is to put my belt on. Go here. I'll show you a view of how to get the belt on right here. I'll grab a sanding belt. going to scooch the belt kind of back behind this the rubber wheel first, and then I'm going to push this handle down so that you can see that I'm basically tensioning this up. So now my belt's going to be sprung-loaded there. And I'll talk a little bit about what these two handles do here. But there, your belt's on. I'm going to move my drum back down, and now you'll note is the belt, this is pretty perfect because there's nothing rubbing. You can see that I've got a gap right there at the top. So it's actually going to work pretty perfect for me. So the next thing I want to do is I want to test the tracking of my caster and camber. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to this camber right here. Move it around, and I'll explain how I'm going to do the caster camber. Caster camber is the belt tracking. That's the tracking of the belt left to right. So you'll see this knob here changes the angle of the wheel, and if the angle wheel's down that way, the belt's going to travel that way. If the thing's tilted this way, the belt's going to travel this way. This is slightly domed, so the tracking of the belt is really done on this. This handle here controls the tensioning of the spring, and we set it pretty much perfect coming, so there's really nothing you need to do there, but that's what this is a tension kind of control. So my next step is I need to get power to this unit, and then we'll go ahead and test the, get the caster camber set up. Okay, so now we're going to set up the caster camber. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, with my hand on the switch, I'm going to check to see how this belt tracks. And my belt's actually tracking pretty good. You can see from this camera, the belt's a little bit to this side. If I turn this knob to the left, counterclockwise, traveling that way. If I turn the knob back the other way, now you can see I'm moving the belt back. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking to have that belt being nice and centered on that lower drum. And what's the beauty with this is it's super easy because this is very precisely machined. It's very easy for me to get a really good adjustment of that belt. So now that belt's tracking beautifully. And that's just a little slight adjustment of this wheel here. It's not a whole lot of, like, I'm not grabbing and cranking. You saw in the video, I'm just moving it just a little bit, and that tweaks. So if I move it a little bit this way, you see that belt moves a little bit, just ever so bit. If I move back the other way, I can really dial in my tracking of the belt really, really nicely. So I got really optimal performance, and that's it. So it's very, very simple to get that set up. Then this will go up over top. This really reduces, this belt reduces the splatter, and that's the main thing. If I want to have it really give me a flat layer, I'm going to have that belt push down in order to really rub against the sanding desk and give me a very even wet surface. That's really one of the key things of why we use the felt, is it gives me a nice smooth, even surface, and I don't have dry spots on my belt. So my cutting performance is going to be very consistent as I use it. But that's basically all the fundamentals of setting up the machine, getting the belt tracking correctly. To change the belt, super easy. Obviously, I'll shut off the unit here. Changing a belt, all I'm going to do is I'm going to push the handle down, slip the belt kind of forward, the belt comes off, put another belt on, I'm going to just put the same belt on, I'm slipping the belt around here, and then I'm pushing the handle down, I center it up on my bottom drum, fire it up, and then it's going to go right back to the sweet spot because it's remembered from the caster camber exactly where you need to be. So that's a really cool thing. Now, here's great news. I will be having replacement parts. This whole caster camber assembly usually wears out on the old unit. This may work fine on your unit to retrofit it. You've got one of the units from the 60s. We try to keep it very compatible because we're big fans of the old units and rebuilding the old units wherever possible. So that, if you do need that, this assembly is available. I don't have it on the website yet, but probably shortly you'll see that on the website as well. The next we're going to do is we're going to show you how to charge the polishing wheel for starting to do polishing on it, because that's a whole process in itself. So the last piece in setting up your C8 is there's the drain hose, and you want to hook that hose up that's included with the the little hose fitting, and route it either into a bucket if you're recirculating, or in my case, I'm going to run this to this manifold here, which is my larger recirculating system, you can see. And I'll shoot a separate video, show you guys how we set up our water here. We don't have fresh water supply right here, so we do a recirculation system with a stainless steel tank that then recirculates and feeds all the different machines on this whole wall.